Hello dear students, how are you all? Hope all you are fine and safe at your home. In this video, I'm going to start a new topic, that is statistic. This is a chapter of class 9th. This is chapter 14. In this video, I'm going to give you a complete introduction of statistic. Let us start with the topic. What is a statistic and how we define a statistic? So statistic is the study of collection organization analysis and interpretation of data. So basically, statistic is a study of collection, organization, analysis, and interpretation of data. Now, what is data and how we define data? Let's understand that. If I define data, data means we collect information from any survey or from any collection of uh, raw data from where we collect information. Suppose this is an age of people of certain locality. Now, here you see 26 is coming for 2 time, 27 is coming for more than 3 time, and so on. Only 25 is for 1 time over here. Other numbers are occurring more than 1 time. So if any event or any number is occurring more than 1 time, that we call as frequency. So what is frequency? Frequency is the number of time the item come in any data. So this is raw data. Why it is raw data? Because we have collected this data directly. Now from this data, we will analyze it and make group of it. And from there, we will apply a statistic in this data. Now let us start understand what is data. A piece of information in the form of fact or figure collected or represented for any specific purpose. So when we gather information for any specific purpose that we call as data, like collection of data or any information or fact when we collect and we represented it for some specific purpose that we call as data. Now, collection of data can be of two forms. One is primary data and second is secondary data. Let's understand what is collection of data. Collection of data, one part is primary data, second is secondary data. Now, what is primary and secondary data? Primary data is first hand data. First hand data means directly you are getting data from a survey or from a source by yourself. So what is primary data? Primary data, first hand data gathered by yourself or by a researcher also, but if the researcher gathered the information by himself or researcher by himself. So here the information is collected directly from the source. For example, weight of a student of class, like this is first hand data. You go to any class, suppose you go to a ninth class where the strength of student is 40, and there you have to collect data for weight of students of class. So this is primary data because this data is coming directly. Or one example I can take, number of plants in locality, number of plant in our locality. That is also direct data, or you can say first hand data, that we call as primary data. Now what is secondary data? This data we don't get directly and we don't collect directly, but get data from third party. From third party. For example, books published, reports, newspaper, any information or any survey, like for a cricket match, the Indian team, the score of Indian team for each batsman, you collect information from newspaper or from television. So that is secondary data, because we are not collecting the collecting the data directly. We are collecting the data from television or newspaper. So any information you are gathering from a third party or from another source. Any report or any doctor report, collections of doctor report, that will be also secondary data. So primary data, the data we get first hand data, and secondary data is we get data from a third party or from any other source or survey, from television, from newspaper, from report. Now, example of primary data. Example, data collected by you through a survey. Secondary data, example, data from a newspaper or census at school. Canadian statistic. So this resource we have collected from third party, like from newspaper or Canadian statistic school. So this information we didn't get directly. So this is the difference between primary and secondary. Now how we can represent data, representation of data. So after collecting data, it is important to present it in a meaningful manner. There are many ways to present data. We represent data into ungrouped data and grouped data. Ungrouped data and grouped data. So after collecting data, it is very important to present it in a meaningful manner. So there are many ways to present data. Represent data into two manner, ungrouped and grouped data. Now what is ungrouped data and grouped data? Let's understand that. So in ungrouped data, we collect raw data and we check the frequency of data. And we make frequency distribution from that data. Let's understand what is ungrouped data. Ungrouped data, data that has not been organized into groups, also called as raw data. Now here you see the table has been made. So here the data are not in grouped data, and the frequency is given over here, but it has not made any group data, like there is not any a class interval or upper limit and lower limit. But when we make group data, that time we organize data in group. So now understand what is group data. Data that has been organized into groups into a frequency distribution. So here from here you can see the group has been made. These are range. This is lower number of an group and this is highest number of an group. Now how we make class interval, upper limit and lower limit, that we will understand. Before that, let's understand what is range. Basically in ungroup data, we gather a raw data. Suppose here colors of shirt is given, blue, red, blue, white, blue, pink, yellow, or the colors are given. Now this is class. Here the color blue, pink, red, white, yellow, these are the class and these are the frequency. Frequency means the number of color occurring for how many times. This is called frequency. Now moving to next topic, what is range? Let's understand what is range. So the difference between the highest and lowest number of data is called range. Now this is a form of data is given over here. Now from here you can see this is highest data. Here 8 is highest data and 2 is lowest data. Now what will the range of data? I will subtract highest data and lowest data and range. This is 6 is range. So the difference between highest and lowest data of a collection of data, from a collection of data, the highest number minus difference between lowest number. This is called as range. So 6 is range over here. Now let's understand what is frequency distribution. Frequency distribution, we will understand. So here you see this is in a tabular form. This is in a tabular form. Now this is a age of numbers of teacher now between 19.5, 24.5, the number of teacher are 10. Similarly, for this age group also, number of teachers is 28. For this group also, numbers of teachers 32. So this is frequency. Frequency. And what is frequency? Frequency is the number of times the items comes in the table. So this is how we define frequency. Now let's understand what is group data. Group data. So in group data, we classify data into class interval, class frequency, exact limit, interval size, class mark. So after making the tabular form in such a manner, why we make class interval and class frequency? Because if the data is so large, that time we use group data and we organize data in such a form that we can easily understand by looking at the tabular form that what is the exact information we are getting from group data or from frequency distribution. Now first understand what is group data. To present the very large number of items in a data, we use group distribution. So class interval defined range of variable. Class frequency indicate the number of observations falling within the different class interval. Exact limit obtained by adding 0.5 to an upper limit or subtracting 0.5 from a lower limit. Interval size, a number of scores involved in a class interval denoted by I. Class mark, the mid value of the interval, also known as the average of lower limit and upper limit. So, class mark. Class mark is how we will define upper limit plus lower limit upon 2. We will divide by 2, then we will get class mark. Now From an example, let's understand what is class interval and lower limit and upper limit. This is an example. The marks obtained out of 25 by 30 students of a class in the examinations are given below. This is the complete data. So now here we have to represent data into group data. Class interval 0 to 5. Now here we have the class interval and where we have to find lower limit and upper limit. Now for this value, we will classify the class interval with lower limit and how we will find class size and class mark, true lower limit and true upper limit. So here like this we find class size and after adding we get and divide by 2 we get class mark. Now true lower limit will be here 0 and true upper limit will be 10. As similar to lower limit and upper limit. Now lower limit 0 for 0 to 20 will be 10. Upper limit will be 20. Class size, that is 20 minus 10. 10. Class mark will be 20 plus 10 upon 2, that is 15. True lower limit will be 10 and true upper limit will be 20. Similarly for this, lower limit will be 20, upper limit will be 30, class size will be 10, 20 minus 30, 10, class mark will be 25, 30 plus 20, 50, 50 by 2, 25, here 20 lower limit and 30. Similarly for this, lower limit will be 30, upper limit will be 40, class size will be 10, class marks will be 35, true lower limit will be 30, and true upper limit will be 40. So this is how we find class interval, lower limit and upper limit, class size and class mark. Now next we will understand what is continuous frequency distribution and discontinuous frequency distribution. So what is continuous frequency distribution and discontinuous frequency distribution? Group data could be of two types as below. Continuous distribution, discontinuous distribution. Let's understand what is continuous distribution. Continuous distribution is a series in which the data are classified into different class interval without gaps. along with their respective frequencies. Now, what is discontinuous distribution? When there is a break or group between two classes given in numerical order. It is called a discontinuous distribution. Discontinuous distribution. So, what is continuous distribution? When we have different class interval without gaps. And for discontinuous distribution, when there is break or gap in two classes. This is the main difference between continuous and discontinuous distribution. Let's understand with an example. That what is exactly continuous and discontinuous distribution. Continuous distribution, there is no gap between classes 1 and 2. Similarly, there is no gap between classes 2 and 3. So from here you see the classes has been given. This is a number line where the path is continuous. That is for continuous distribution. There is no break over here. But for discontinuous distribution, there is a gap of 1 unit between classes 1 and 2. Similarly, there is gap of 1 unit between classes 2 and 3. So here you can see the gap for 1 unit. So it is discontinuous distribution. Now, discontinuous distribution can be converted into continuous distribution. Let's see how. Conversion of discontinuous data into continuous data. This is class interval is given for 5, 20, 25, 40, 45, 60. So first step, consider a gap between classes 1 and 2. Class 1 ends with 20 and class 2 begins with 25. Therefore, the gap between classes 1 and 2, there is a gap. Now, step 2, convert class 1 into a continuous series. Class 1, 5, 20. Gap between class 1 and class 2 is 5. Lower boundary, lower limit minus half of the gap. So 5 is the gap and we will do half of the gap. 5 minus half of gap, that is 5. 5 minus 2.5. 2.5 is the lower limit. Now the lower limit of class 1 is 2.5. Upper boundary, lower limit plus half of the gap. So this is for upper boundary. So here, this is not 20, this will be 5. So that is 20 plus 2.5, half of the gap. So the upper boundary we will get 22.5. So upper limit of class, that is 22.5. Now update limit of class 1, that is 2.5 and 22.5. Now similarly we will do for other class also. For class 2 and class 1. Apply step 1 and 2 to all other classes available in our series and make the required conversion. Now continuous series converted from the discontinuous series will look like this. Class 1 will be this that we have calculated, and class 2 and class 3 can be calculated in similar way. Hope you have understand this topic. Still in this topic, introduction of statistic, few topics are remaining, like what is bar graph, what is histograph, what is frequency polygon, that I will discuss in next video that I will upload soon. Hope you have understood what I have taught in this video. Now this is a small ad from my side. I take online classes for subject mathematics. If you're interested, you can mail me or call me on this number. I hope you have understand today's video, today's topic. From now, I'm signing off. Have a nice day. And any doubt if you still have in this topic, you can comment me on the comment box. Subscribe my channel, High Sky Online Mathematics Classes. Thank you for now.